people don't even know what a medium is. So how about just explaining, maybe define what a medium is?
So, so a medium is someone who's able to communicate to your deceased relatives, friends, and family in the spiritual realm.
So you see ghosts, or you hear ghosts, or what's?
Actually, ghost is an energetic imprint that's left behind. So I actually communicate to spirits, but the spirit of your friends and relatives that have passed to another realm, the spiritual realm, which I call the spirit world.
And in the spirit world, are they always around you? Can you always sense other people's spirits, or is it
Absolutely, it's
subtle?
yeah, absolutely. It for me. It's a shift of an awareness for me. So I'm able to turn it on and turn it off. I had to learn
Okay,
to do that.
very cool.
So,
And
but it's totally different than psychic.
I was going to ask you, what would you explain the difference in a psychic and a medium?
So a psychic is able to pick up things that has happened in the past, talk about what's happening in the present, and
Miss
then
Cleo, remember her?
yeah,
So remember Miss Cleo? She was making like $1 million to, you
yeah,
know,
that's crazy.
back in the 1-900 number days. Like I think
Yeah, yeah,
that
like
way before you were even thought of when Miss Cleo was
the
around.
crystal ball reader.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
crystal ball reader. Yes.
so they're able to sense from the past, the present, and then based upon what's, if you're going to a reputable psychic, they're able to predict the outcome of situations. But the thing is with psychic work is that God gave you free will, so you can choose to do what you want with that. So it can change. That's why I don't. All mediums are very psychic, but not all psychics can be a medium.
Okay.
So it's like being a brain surgeon, but you can also be a pediatrician as well.
And
So,
so obviously, so how we met, so my really close friend Victoria, her sister Vanessa, their father unfortunately passed away. He was a great man. I was very close to him, and I guess there was some sort of connection that so that's how we met, was through Vanessa, Victoria, and obviously
right.
they're Wilmington natives and friends of mine. So so yeah, tell us more how you know Vanessa.
So it's funny, Vanessa. I met her on a Facebook. I saw an image. The people. It says people you may know, but there's no mutual friends.
Yeah.
I had no mutual friends, and I was drawn to her. This was God, probably this is about 10 years ago, actually. Now going on 10 years, and
What a little symbol, because we went to her sister's 40th birthday in Mexico, and she left her. I actually stayed another week to go to a friend's wedding, and she actually left this little hat right
oh
here.
my gosh, look at that.
I thought maybe if I had a little piece of her, you could probably even, sort of maybe channel Vanessa here a little bit.
That's right. I can only channel the dead.
Only the dead. So let's
But
go.
so I reached out to her on Facebook and I said there's a gentleman and I felt drawn to her and I said I know I'm a complete stranger but there's a gentleman who's passed that's around you and he's got to get a message to you and you need to stop blaming yourself. I mean I said a lot of other things that were personal but there was a lot of I just felt drawn to her and she messaged me back and she goes oh my gosh she goes that's my ex-boyfriend, he died on a
That's
motorcycle
something to do
accident.
with that. Yeah, absolutely.
So when it was the man who passed. Was I was
Yeah,
picking
yeah,
up
yeah,
her
yeah. Well, her father passed away, but that wasn't the one that was being.
that well that her father passed away. That was more recently.
Yeah.
But when we met, I picked up her ex-boyfriend who had passed in a motorcycle accident.
Gosh. So that's how you got. That's how you got sort
And
of.
that's how we connected. And she's like, "Oh my God!" She goes, "There'd be no way." And there was a lot of other details that I told her about her connection with him, and it's just so healing. I mean, the basis of what I do. Some people are freaked out about it, some people are skeptical about it, but the main thing is the healing aspect to help with people's grief so that they can move on. Not move on. Let me use a better term. They can cope. They
Closure,
can
or have
cope.
closure of some sort, maybe.
The closure, but also cope with the passing of the child or passing of the husband or the wife or the brother. It could be very healing because so many people get stuck and they don't, and it doesn't matter what background you come from. We all deal with death. You know, there's a famous quote, I forget where I heard, and it's you will never see a U-Haul behind a hearse, so you can't take anything with you.
Yeah,
That's it.
true. Yep, that's very, very true. But yeah, so, and how was your upbringing with this gift as a child? I mean, what did you say? You were 4 years old when you finally realized that you were
4 years old.
this.
Yep, 4, and I would see spirit, and I actually saw my great grandfather in my room, and I said
Well,
to
you didn't really freak out because she was also a medium, so you sort of inherited this gift, maybe
right
somehow through your mother.
through my mother, right? Yeah, she has the ability to sense spirit, but back in those days, you didn't talk about it. Everybody blocked it out.
Because
You
then they
know,
think you were a witch or was studying
right,
witchcraft. Yeah, I can imagine.
right. So, you know, I had that understanding there, and my mother embraced that. And then I mean, for me, growing up when I was 5, 6, 7 years old, I blocked it out because it was still a little scary for me.
Like you said, you can kind of turn it off and turn it on.
Well, that wasn't until I was in my late teens I started
Kind of
to.
like you figured out how it started
Right,
working.
right. I actually, when I was a junior in high school, I met a lady named Janet, and she was a former Roman Catholic nun turned medium. And she had her own non-denominational spiritual center here in New Jersey, which is still running. And she actually helped me develop. I had to sit and develop to hone the ability so that when I got up on a stage or I got up in front of a large group of people, I knew how to work the audience and be able to pinpoint the information with the people, with the right recipient in the audience. And then from that point, I started training with the British, with the UK mediums, who would come to her spiritual center. And again, these were a lot of gifted people who are mediums, who have a practice in this.
Like-minded.
Like-minded, and we would pair up with each other. We would do readings on each other. We would be put on stage and literally have our statements pulled apart, literally critiqued. The British people, they're very posh and well put together. So they would take apart each statement and say, okay, what can you do better? You know, don't second guess yourself. Go with the spirit world. Go with the information that you're getting. So I sat for 6 years intensively to develop and hone my craft so that I can take it to a large public level, which I love doing.
Trying to carry out now by coming onto a podcast, and this is your first podcast that you've been on.
Right.
Yes, so far.
I've been on radio podcasts when I was a teenager, but first video podcast.
Well, it'll be interesting to have you down here in North Carolina. We'd love to have you, and definitely. So, I guess for me, a lot of people ask me all the time because the Penthouse, is in the top floor of an old historical building, and it's over 100 years old. And people are like, oh, is it haunted? Is it good? Do you see ghosts? You know, there's always that feeling. I'm not gonna lie, of course, like I've never really seen something. I mean, things have, you can feel like something's there, or something
Right.
that maybe see in the corner of your eye, or a mirror, or a glass, or something. You know, there are sort of things that do happen pretty frequently around here.
Built up energy. You know, the spaces hold energy. So, you know, it really depends. You know, when people say things are haunted, not necessarily is it the spirit world. It also could be residual energy that's held in a space.
That's really interesting, and you know, it's. I always say the energy up here is so positive and so great and so fun, and obviously it is a party place, and we throw lots of memorable birthdays and baby showers and so forth and so on. Engagement parties are a big one. But yeah, so I think that we've created so much good energy in here that I'm just hoping that energy keeps
Right, building. Yeah. There's definitely, when I do demonstrate, because I do a lot of demonstrations in restaurants, and when you walk into a space, you can definitely feel if the energy's built. What you're saying, there's a lot of positivity. So, and I like to work in those spaces because the energy is built up in that space, and it's good to work with when you bring into an audience or you bring in a group. It could definitely help out with the messages and creating that positivity atmosphere for healing.
I think a lot of people that watch reality television, which I kind of stay away from because I'm just so busy in my own reality. So you've got people like the LA Medium, and he's got his way of trying to he's like I said mentioned before with the pad, and he's scribbling, and you're trying to understand what's going on. And he's interviewed some pretty major celebrities. Has there been any celebrities that have reached out to you yet that you would be possibly interested in
Not yet. Hopefully, somebody will reach out and they'll be able to experience.
I hope when you come here, we can put together a couple group sessions. And I know there's some ladies up here the night that we've spoken before, and there was a whole group of them that were ready to come together and see what you can read.
Yeah, absolutely. It's incredible because the information, when it comes through, it's very specific. You have mediums that will give general information. And for me, I'm the one that's going to come through, and talk about the jewelry, but also describe the jewelry. So it's one thing saying, oh, you have your mother's jewelry or your grandmother's jewelry. I mean, come on, how many people have that,
What is probably one of the most intense readings that you could probably tell us about that you've been through? That was, I'm sure pretty riveting and captivating. And I mean, you're basically, people just would give their last cent sometimes to just know one last thing from somebody, not even just financially, but just they put their whole heart into reaching over to the other side to figure out whether it's a psychic or a medium, or just some sort of hopeful answers that they can get for some closure.
Well, I'll tell you that I actually just one recent one I did about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I had a restaurant and we had close to 60 people, and the owner had said, he told me after the fact that there was this young girl, she might have been 18 or 19, there with her mother, and the brother died. So at one point during the evening, I said, I have a young gentleman here, and I see construction, and he passed very quickly. And I think he was involved in construction, but I felt like he was affected with the head area. Well, the gentleman, he passed on an AV accident, and I think he hit his head. And then I talked about songs that she created, and I said, you must have just went through the iPad or iPhone and you made a playlist. And she starts crying. She goes, yes, I just did that last week with his best friends. We just made a playlist. So there was that aspect of it. And then I brought through, I said, he's talking about the hair clippings. He's saying thank you for clipping his hair or keeping his hair. And the mother next to her, I said, can we pass the microphone over? She starts crying. She pulls underneath her shirt and she goes, I have my son's hair clippings in this locket. And I said, could you just please show the audience? And I said, indeed, to show that your son is safe and at peace, and that he's watching over you and a part of your life. So you don't have to feel sad. I know you want him physically here, but just know that your son loves you and he's with you every step of the way. So, it could be very, and the whole audience was emotional and crying because these two, this young girl and her mother. So it brought through this healing aspect to say, look, Mom, I'm here, talk to a sister a little bit to talk about the playlist. So it can be so strong where, after the show, I remember meeting these two ladies, and they were just emotional, and they said, you don't understand the amount of weight. We've been going to mediums, we've been going to psychics, we've been trying to connect with my son and my brother, and you brought him through. It was amazing,
Well, thank you so much for taking the time today, and we'll keep everyone posted when you're going to be in town, so we can. I'm looking forward to an individual reading myself.
Absolutely.
And whenever we know that you are coming, we'll put you in the Penthouse newsletter. I'll be glad to promote you all over the social media. And
great.
It's been nice having you on, Anthony. I look forward to having you in person here at the Penthouse.